And hello, everybody, and welcome to the Movie Pit Podcast. I am your host, Christian. Hope you're having a wonderful day today. It is once again the end of the week, and I am here to give you guys all the daily doses of movie news, the big movie news items anyway, that came out during the week. Also going to be talking about all the movie releases that are coming out in limited and wide fashion. And yeah, we're gonna have some fun today. Hopefully, it's a big news week this week. It was CinemaCon happened, and a lot of pretty big tidbits came out. So we're going to be talking about all of those here on the podcast today. There's a few news items that I took out from the outline for the show today for time purposes, because again, there was a lot of news items that came out this week. So if you want to go check out those news items, you can go to the Facebook page, which will be linked down below in the show notes / description area, or you can just go to facebook.com/moviepit. That is a capital M in movie and a capital P in pit. And you can give us a like over there and check out all the news items and be a little bit ahead of what we have coming up on the podcast later in the week. You can also check out my WordPress accounts, which will also be linked down below in the description / show notes area for all the written reviews from the movies that I watch over the weekend, and for your monthly movie previews. We'll have one in a couple weeks for the month of May, and yeah, you guys go check that. And I give little pieces here and there on the page as well. Sometimes I'll do like a spoiler-free. All my reviews are spoiler-free. I do a spoiler-filled post every once in a while on big movies. I did one for Star Wars, and I did one for Batman v Superman. So you guys can go check that out. Alright, so let's get to the news items for the week, with the first being a connection to a movie coming out this weekend. The Jungle Book 2 is already in the works. So The Jungle Book comes out today, this weekend, and Disney is getting pretty much nothing but good reviews. It's getting a lot of positive reviews from critics, and that gave Disney the incentive to be like, you know what, we're going to do a sequel, because we're getting all these great reviews. So a sequel is already in the works. Jon Favreau, the director, will come back to direct, and his screenwriting partner, who also wrote The Jungle Book, Justin Marks, will return to write the sequel as well. The plan is to dive deeper into the various stories by the person that created The Jungle Book, Rudyard Kipling. Other than that, no other details are known about the project just yet. Pretty sure we'll get to know those after this weekend once The Jungle Book hits theaters. I, for one, will be going to watch The Jungle Book this weekend, so you can check out my review page, and maybe I'll even give a review here on the podcast. Next up, some of these news items, by the way, I'm just gonna speed past them because again, we got a lot to get to this week, and some of these news items kind of speak for themselves. I didn't want to get too much in The Jungle Book because I didn't see The Jungle Book 2 because I didn't see The Jungle Book 1 yet. So some of these news items are going to pass through. Some of these I'll sit down and, well, I'm sitting down, but I'll slow down and talk about them. Alright, so the next news item is Disney is going to do a live-action Peter Pan movie, and it already has a director. At this point, we really shouldn't be surprised when Disney announces they are doing a live-action adaptation of their old animated films, because it seems like every other few months we are getting news on a live-action adaptation of Disney's old animated features. This one is a little surprising, though, considering that a recent iteration of this character, Peter Pan, was already made by Warner Brothers and was considered by many, and was not considered, it was a box office failure in every sense of the word. But Variety is reporting that David Lowery, who directed Ain't Them Body Saints, and he directed Disney's upcoming remake of Pete's Dragon, has been hired to direct the live-action adaptation of Peter Pan. So it seems like the studio is happy with what Laurie did with Pete's Dragon, and they're giving him, full reins of another property from Disney's vault in Peter Pan. He'll also be bringing Toby Helbrooks, who wrote Pete's Dragon, to write Peter Pan as well. Now, I didn't watch Warner Brothers' origin film, because that's what it was, essentially, Pan, but we are talking about two different studios, Warner Brothers and Disney. And if we know Disney, we know they're going to do some sort of twist to the tale, or do something different that sets him apart from everyone else and from every other iteration of the characters. Peter Pan is, of course, it's not strictly limited to Disney, which is why Warner Bros. They would do it. So we'll see what happens. Peter Pan now joins the long list of live-action adaptations. You got Beauty and the Beast, which has Emma Watson and Dan Stevens and Josh Gad and Luke Evans. I think that's coming out next year. We have Dumbo, which will be directed by, I believe, Tim Burton, and you got Mulan. And you got all these other ones coming out. So we'll see what happens with Peter Pan. Maybe, I don't know if it's just Peter Pan fatigue, or people still don't like Peter Pan that much as they originally thought, or maybe Pan didn't look as good to everyone else. I didn't go watch Pan, one, because it was going up against like 2 other movies that I really wanted to watch, and I just never got around to watching it. I don't know. We'll see what happens. It's Disney. Disney has a knack for getting people into their movies. So we'll see what happens with that. This one's just ridiculous in every sense of the word, but we're all gonna go watch it. We're all gonna go watch it. Jason Statham has joined Meg. Yes, it's a movie called Meg, but it is about a dinosaur shark. That's right, you heard me. Dinosaur shark. Jason Statham is adding fighting dinosaur sharks to his resume. He has signed on to the Warner Brothers creature film Meg, which will be directed by John Turteltaub. I think I'm pronouncing his last name right. I always get his last name wrong. Who is set to direct? Eli Roth was set to direct Meg for a long time until he dropped out. I believe it was earlier this year when he dropped out. Anyway, Meg finds 2 men teaming up to fight a megalodon, 60-foot prehistoric ancestor of the great white shark, when the beast starts tormenting swimmers along the China coast. There is no word yet on who Jason Statham will play, but we can only assume he's playing one of the 2 men, and we hope to God that we'll see Jason Statham either punch, headbutt, or kick a shark in the face. Because let's face it, I think at this point, that's all we want to see. And please, no jumping the shark comments in the comment section. I've already seen enough of those online. Meg doesn't currently have a release date, but it's suggested that it can come out sometime next year or maybe early 2018. So right now they're aiming for 2017, which means they can start filming sometime later this year, and we'll see it next year. It's possible. Our next news item, Jackie Earle Haley is in early talks to join The Dark Tower. The Stephen King adaptation of The Dark Tower comic book series and stories has gotten, or may get, another big name. Again, Jackie Earle Haley is only in talks to join the film. If he does join the film, he will play the character of Richard Patrick Sayer, who is a menacing humanoid who is a vampire leader and answers to no one. So he's a menacing humanoid who happens to be a vampire as well. The film is led by Idris Elba, who will be playing the main character of Roland Deschained, aka the Gunslinger, and Matthew McConaughey as the villain, aka the Man in Black. For those not in the know, a short description of the Dark Tower follows Roland Deschained as he roams an Old West-like landscape in search for the Dark Tower in hopes that reaching it will preserve his dying world. Dark Tower also stars Abby Lee and Tom Taylor and will open up in February 17th, 2017. So next year. The film is currently filming, so we'll probably be hearing a lot more about the Dark Tower. And Jackie Earle Haley is a fantastic actor. If you don't know who he is, you should look him up. He played Rorschach in the Watchmen adaptation. He was the only good thing, really, of an otherwise shitty movie that was a Nightmare on Elm Street remake. He's been in a bunch of other stuff. He's also going to be in the Tick, the TV show. I think it's on Amazon. Could be wrong. Maybe Hulu. It's one of those new streaming services. He's going to be playing. He's going to be in there. I think he's going to play the Terror. If you're familiar with the Tick, if you're not familiar with the Tick, you should get familiar with the Tick. It's pretty funny, especially the old TV show. But anyway, Jackie Earle Haley, he's fantastic. He's great. He's a great character actor as well. He was also on Shutter Island he had a small role in that. He's great in everything pretty much he does. He's a standout. So look forward I look forward to the Dark Tower. You got a pretty impressive cast. You got possibly Jackie Earle Haley. You got Alba, and you got Matthew McConaughey. Scott Eastwood has joined the cast of Fast 8. Yes, that's Scott Eastwood. You don't know what I'm talking about? Yeah, then, don't be surprised. He is the son of Clint Eastwood, so there you go. There's that. His character is said to be a protege of Kurt Russell's character, Mr. Nobody, who was introduced in Furious 7. Eastwood now joins the new cast members in Christopher Hivju, I think I'm still pronouncing the last name wrong, and Charlize Theron, who would be playing the villain. I don't know why I said her name weird. But, yeah, so Eastwood is relatively new to Hollywood. You've probably seen him and stuff. He was in, I think he had a small role. It's been a while since I watched that, so I don't remember exactly who he played. He was in Flags of Our Fathers, which of course was directed by his father, Clint Eastwood. He was apparently also in Gran Torino. I don't remember him in that. I don't remember him in anything that I saw him in. So he was also in Texas Chainsaw 3D. I didn't watch that. He was in Fury. I watched that. I don't remember who he was. And he was also, his kind of big role where he kind of stood out was The Longest Ride, which was, I believe it was based off Nicholas Sparks. Maybe. I'm just probably guessing that. I just assume that every kind of love story nowadays is Nicholas Sparks, even though I know it's not true, but I just assume it is. But he was in that. He'll be in. He's got a few movies coming out this year. A couple movies coming out this year. He's gonna be in Suicide Squad. If no one knows who he's playing. He's playing one of Joe Kennerman's Rick Flag soldiers. He's in the trailer. He's actually in the trailer for just like a brief moment. So we don't know if he's gonna survive that. He's also going to be in Snowden, which comes out later this year as well, and we'll talk about more of that once it gets released. But more power to Eastwood if he can pull this off. And again, I haven't the things I've seen. I've seen Fury. I've seen Gran Torino. Again, it's been a while since I've seen Flags of Our Fathers. I don't remember him in those movies, so maybe it's just me. I don't know. My only thing is seeing those movies and not remembering who he is. And then seeing all the commercials for The Longest Ride, which you can't really be judging too much on that. But we'll see what happens. He's playing protege to Mr. Nobody, played by Kurt Russell. The movie is already kind of filming. It's filming in these exile locations, but they're doing the bulk of their filming here in the States, in Atlanta and New York, for its April 14th release next year. So we can look forward to that. Mark Rylance has joined two projects, both of them by Steven Spielberg. So it looks like him and Steven Spielberg are becoming close pals, which I don't mind because Mark Rylance is a fine actor now that I know more about who he is. I've slowly now started realizing the stuff I've seen him in before, and I'm like, oh my god, I did see him in that. Oh my god, now I do remember what role he played. So it's funny how there's these older actors, and you watch stuff that they were a part of, and you kind of just look back and you're like, oh my god, they were in that. I forgot how good they were in that. How did I not remember that? Goes back and it slowly comes back into your system, and you're just like, how did I forget that? Anyway, Mark Rylance, of course, slowly becoming a household name. Maybe if he's not, he will be. He got an Oscar for his work in Bridge of Spies, which he's totally deserved. And he'll be working with Steven Spielberg later this year on the BFG, where he's playing the BFG, the Big Friendly Giant. But it looks like he's going to work together with Spielberg 2 more times. So his next 2 movies that he's going to be working on that he signed on for with Steven Spielberg is The Kidnapping of Edgardo Montoya and Ready Player One. So we'll talk about The Kidnapping of Edgardo Montoya is based off a book that focuses on the Jewish boy from 1858 Bologna, Italy, who was forced away from his family and to be raised as a Christian after he was secretly baptized. His parents' fight to get their son back becomes a larger war against the papacy. So Spielberg has been trying to get this movie made for a while. Apparently, he bought the script. He bought the rights to the book. This is based off a book. I believe it was back in 2014, 13, something like that. So a few years ago, he was trying to buy he got the rights to it, and he's been trying to make it ever since. But he's been doing all these other projects first. So it looks like he's finally going to get around to it. And he's bringing Mark Rylance along. No word on who Mark Rylance will play, but just him being involved in it is probably going to elevate the film a little bit more. Speaking about elevation, the next movie he joined was Ready Player One. For those who don't know, the adaptation is based off the best-selling novel by Ernest Cline, and it follows Wade Watts as he ventures into the virtual reality world of Oasis to find a hidden, quote, Easter egg, unquote, that was left by its creator, James Halliday, and it gives the finder full control of Oasis, meaning that they pretty much control everything in this kind of post-apocalyptic future that the book is based in. I've read the book. I think it's great. It's filled. If you were born in the 80s, it's full of nostalgia and references that you can get. But if you weren't born in the 80s, you can still appreciate it. I read the book and I was really drawn into the world, and I can't wait to see what they bring to the big screen, especially with Steven Spielberg as a director. I think even his work was mentioned in the book, so it should be interesting to see how he handles that. But the film already has a pretty decent cast. They got Tyler Sheridan, who's going to play Cyclops in X-Men Apocalypse later this year. He's playing the main character, Wade Watts. They have Olivia Cooke in the film. She's playing the love interest. She was in Ouija, the horror film, which is getting a sequel for some reason. I didn't watch Ouija, so I can't. I'm just making assumptions. But I do know who she is. She was in Me, Earle, and the Dying Girl, which is based off a book. The book also, Me, Earle, and the Dying Girl, also a fantastic book and a fantastic movie. If you haven't gotten a chance to watch it, you really should. Olivia Cooke's great in the movie. She's also on Bates Motel, which is on A&E, the TV show, which I watch, and she's great in that as well. Ben Mendelsohn is playing the villain in the film from Netflix's Bloodlines. He's gonna be in Star Wars Rogue One, A Star Wars Story. Sorry, to get the title right. He's the guy in the white suit in the trailer, if you watched it. So he's gonna be playing the villain. Simon Pegg's in the movie. He's playing Ogden Morrow, who is the co-creator of the Oasis. And Mark Rylance is now joined the cast. He's playing James Halliday, the creator of the Oasis. I don't know. I didn't imagine who they would get as James Halliday. I knew they needed to get someone, who just brings a lot of energy and is kind of maybe this screams out charisma. But Mark Rylance, he's a good choice. I'm not saying that Mark Rylance doesn't carry out charisma, because I think he does. Just watch Bridge of Spies and you know what I'm talking about. But I was surprised by the casting of Mark Rylance, but at the same time, I'm not complaining. Rylance is a fantastic actor, and again, I've started to notice things that I've seen him in before, and he's great. I can't wait to see what he does next. I know he's got a couple films coming out before this, so I'm looking forward to whatever Mark Rylance does now. He's got a new fan in me. Ready Player One is set to be re-released on March 30th of 2018. So again, we can expect to hear a lot more from Ready Player One as they go into production. I believe they start going into production. I know it's not next year. I think it's this year. I think it's later this year. I could be wrong on that, but I think that's what I read before. All right, let's move on. The Kingsman sequel, Kingsman: The Golden Circle, has Elton John, yes, that Elton John, Sir Elton John, in talks to join, and it officially has Channing Tatum attached to star. Now let's talk about the first one. Elton John is in negotiations to join the Golden Circle in an unspecified role. It could be a cameo, it could be a role like Mark Hamill had in the first film, or something completely different. We just don't know. And we probably won't know until the film comes out, or unless someone spills the beans. Yeah, it's interesting. I know that the Kingsman first comic had a bunch of celebrity cameos in it, so I don't know if they're gonna keep doing that for the sequel. Again, the Golden Circle isn't really based off the comics; it's kind of its own new story. But it's kind of it's nice for them to kind of keep up the tradition of the first graphic novel and do something new with it, do something different with it. And with Elton John attached, or in talks to come on board, it's kind of interesting. I don't know what role he's going to play, but it's interesting to say the least. Put it that way. All right, but the big casting news is Channing Tatum. He has officially signed on for the sequel. There's no word on who he will play. We can assume that he's probably going to play a statesman, a Kingsman American counterpart, or maybe the henchman to the main villain that has been played by Julianne Moore. Notes, the director Matthew Vaughn did try to get Jared Leto, but Leto was apparently tricky to pin down, so they went with Tatum, which is not a Tatum. I just made up a new name, which is not a bad alternative. Look, I didn't like Channing Tatum when he first popped up and everything. I didn't, but he's won me over. He has. I still think he's goofy looking. But he's won me over, and I'm still not completely pleased with him playing Gambit. But if he does a good job, then I will be the first one to say, yeah, he did a good job. I'm still not saying he's a perfect choice, but if he does a good job, I'll give him his credit. But him joining Kingsman is kind of surprising. I didn't think that they would go with Tatum. Now, Kingsman, the Golden Circle, but I mean, they've had some pretty decent people. I mean, they got Mark Hamill in the first one. They had Samuel L. Jackson. They had Colin Firth. And this one, they have Halle Berry joining the cast. They have Pedro Pascal, aka the Viper, aka Oberyn Martell from Game of Thrones. And they have Julianne Moore playing the villain. I think it's cool that a film like this, nobody was really suspecting too much of this, kind of new franchise, is getting these big actors like Channing Tatum. It's kind of funny, and it's good for them. And I've said in the podcast before, I was pleasantly surprised by Kingsman, Secret Service, the first one, and I can't wait to see what they do with the Golden Circle. So this is pretty cool. Filming starts soon for Kingsman: The Golden Circle, and will be released in 2017, so next year. I believe I didn't write down the date for some reason. I believe it's coming out during the summer. I could be wrong about that, but I'm sure we'll hear more about Kingsman: The Golden Circle, so I'll make sure to put the release date next time. All right, let's talk about the next news item, which is again continuing these casting news items. Tessa Thompson joins Thor Ragnarok, and it appears that Natalie Portman is no longer involved. Backtrack a little bit, get our bearings. Thor Ragnarok is set to start production this June, and The Hollywood Reporter is saying that Tessa Thompson, who was in Creed, she played the girlfriend. She was also in Dear White People, which is the only two things that kind of the big things that people will probably have heard of, has landed, quote, a key role, unquote, in the film. No other details of the role are out yet, but The Hollywood Reporter and a bunch of other people are speculating, considering that this was rumored that the character would join as well, that Thompson could be playing the role of Valkyrie. Now, Valkyrie in the comics, for those who don't know, is an Asgardian hero who led a group of warrior goddesses to battle. And there's all this other history of the character of Valkyrie as well, but I'm not going to get into it right now. But her joining the cast is also speculated that she will be filling the female lead role now that Portman is essentially done with the cinematic universe. Now this is interesting, and maybe interesting is not the right word, but it's, I guess I'll just say interesting for the lack of a better term, for them to report and for this to be happening. Now, Portman was essentially a very important part of Thor: The Dark World, and for her to kind of just be done after this and essentially be replaced is kind of odd. Now, look, I'm not saying that I want to say that I'll miss Natalie Portman, and again, Natalie Portman, fantastic actress, great in everything she pretty much does, but you can tell, and it's even been a bit reported on, that Natalie Portman was never really interested in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. You know, there was this whole thing that when she got upset when Patty Jenkins, who was originally going to direct The Dark World, was let go, and you know she was really upset about that. And I can see why she would probably be upset about that, because apparently her and Patty Jenkins are close friends. But you know, there was the thing with Thor, and Thor was always kind of the interesting kind of addition to the Marvel Cinematic Universe, was that Thor was very different from the rest of the MCU, because it was more kind of, you know, he was a god, he was deity, whatever you want to call him, and you have him essentially with Natalie Portman, a human, but the chemistry was never, I mean, the chemistry was never really there. It kind of just, he's like, oh, well, these two are, you know, hot looking people, and now they have to fall in love, because that's the way the world works. But, you know, again, I'm not saying anything about Natalie Portman, I'm not saying anything bad about her character, Jane Foster, but there is something to be said that when you hear Natalie Portman is no longer part of the cinematic universe, and you don't feel bad or, you know, or like, oh, that sucks, that's saying something. I'm not saying her character was badly written or, you know, she was a bad character in general. I would have loved to see Natalie Portman involved in more Thor movies. Maybe even throw her into an Avengers movie or something. But I don't know. I mean, there's, you know, she never really fully embraced being a part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, which begs the question: why would she do why would she join the Marvel Cinematic Universe if she didn't enjoy it? I don't know. We'll see. But nonetheless, Tessa Thompson, great addition, and if she does indeed replace Natalie Portman for the female lead, I'm okay with that. She was great in Creed. Her character was really well rounded, I thought anyway. I didn't see Dear White People, but I heard great things from her about her in that movie and her character. So if she is indeed the new female lead for the Thor films, if they keep doing them, I'm okay with that. She's great. So now she joins Chris Hemsworth, Tom Hiddleston, Mark Ruffalo, and Jamie Alexander, and new director Taki Waititi, I think that's how you say his name. I'm not sure. Who have joined the cast, and Kate Blanchett is maybe in the movie, maybe not. No one's really. Mark Ruffalo kind of said that she was, but I don't remember seeing anything that officially confirmed she was a part of the film. So we'll have to wait and see about that. But even if she isn't or she is, doesn't matter. Kate Blanchett in the Marvel Cinematic Universe movie, you count me in on that. Alright, Thor Ragnarok opens on July 28th, 2017. Alright, this next news item is a rumor on the frontrunner for the young Han Solo film, on who would play young Han Solo. Now, back in December, you know, there was this long list of names of who was auditioning to play a young Han Solo, and as you know, the months went on, the list got shorter and shorter. Directors Phil Lord and Chris Miller were meeting with all these people. They were auditioning them, and then again the list got shorter and shorter. There was 5, I believe, last month, and now it's come down to 3 top contenders, according to reports, according to Deadline, who originally reported on this. Jake Rayner from Transformers: Edge of Extinction, Taron Egerton from Kingsman: The Secret Service, and Alden Ehrenreich from Hail Caesar are the top 3 contenders, with Ehrenreich being the top frontrunner, the word the Deadline used, to play young Han Solo. Now, of course, there's no confirmation on any of this, but since those 3 names have pretty much been on every list that has come out, especially being the top 5 list, it seems pretty reasonable that these will be the top 3. Egerton has been great in the 2 kind of big things that he's been involved in, Kingsman and Eddie the Eagle. He also had a short role in Legend, the Tom Hardy movie where he plays the Cray brothers. But he kind of already has his own franchise, so let him do that. And Jake Rayner, I've only seen him in Transformers: Age of Extinction, which is not doing him any favors. For one, he's not. That's not doing him any favors. But he was in just something recently. I think it was Sing Street, which we'll actually talk about later on in the show. He was in that, and people are saying that he's really good in that. And Ehrenreich, who was one of, if not the best thing in Hail Caesar, being the frontrunner, I'm okay with that. He is a great actor. I haven't really seen him in anything that can, sway my decision one way or another. But the one thing I've seen him in, which is Hail Caesar, I know he was in a young adult adaptation. I think it was Beautiful Creatures. Yeah, it was Beautiful Creatures. I didn't watch that. I didn't. It didn't interest me. But this Hail Caesar was the first time that I really saw him in anything, and he blew it out of the water. He was so great. He was so charismatic. He was so, he just had this great charm about him. He was great in it. And, seeing his name on this list, on the list pretty much, I was okay with it. I thought, if he gets it, I'm fully on board with a young Han Solo movie. If Ehrenreich is the top lead. Again, I have nothing against Egerton. I don't. He also has his own charm. He's got his own swagger. If he gets it, I'll be okay too. If Jack Reynor gets it, I'll be a little reluctant, because again, the only thing I've seen him in is Transformers: Age of Extinction, which I am holding against him. Well, I'm not holding it against him, but I hold every Transformers movie against Michael Bay. But that's a different story. So I don't know if Ehrenreich is indeed the front runner. I think I'm okay with that. I think anyone who saw Hail Caesar is probably okay with that. So let him do it. Screenwriters for the film include veteran Star Wars screenwriter Lawrence Kasdan and his son John Kasdan. They will write the script and will of course follow Han Solo before joining the Rebel Alliance. Let's move on to the next news item. Some of these news items now, the next few news items, I believe. Actually, no. You know what? Sticking with Star Wars, let's do Star Wars. Let's do Star Wars news first before I get into the next few news items that revolve around CinemaCon. Star Wars, the original trilogy. Everyone's favorites. Prequels don't exist in some people's eyes, and I'm okay with that. Anyway, the original Star Wars trilogy is returning to selected theaters this summer. Get ready, Star Wars nerds. It's unbelievably, when I read this, I was like, I can't. That sounds odd. I never thought about it. But next year will mark the 40th anniversary for Star Wars being released in theaters. I didn't know about that. Before the anniversary gets kicked off, the Alamo Drafthouse is doing a nationwide road show to bring the original trilogy, A New Hope, The Empire Strikes Back, and Return of the Jedi, back to the big screen, which is pretty cool. And most of these places are going to be showing the trilogy back to back to back. So you seriously, this is like a dream for Star Wars fans who never watched the originals in theaters. However, some fans will be disappointed, maybe, because the versions that they're showing on this roadshow are the 1997 special editions. If you don't know what I'm talking about, go ask your big Star Wars fan and tell them what the difference is. The original Star Wars trilogies, because George Lucas just had to go in and put a boulder in a random place, or make the Ewoks blink or something. Whatever. We all know the changes at this point that he made, but whatever. Han shot first, by the way. Despite the press release, just moving on with that, saying nationwide. Right now, there are only a handful of cities that are going to show it. The bulk of the showings so far are in Texas, because that's where the Alamo Drafthouse is located. Other places confirmed as of right now are Oakland, New York, Miami, Kansas City, Washington, D.C., Denver, Boston, Louisville, and Philadelphia. They did say that more cities will be announced and more dates will be announced, as the event draws closer. Tickets for the event, I believe, go on sale on May 4th, aka Star Wars Day, aka May the 4th be with you. Because we're nerds and we're taking over days. Get over it. again, there's more dates they said will be rolling out as the weeks go on. And if you want to buy your tickets for this event, all you have to do is go to returnofthetrilogy.com. Once again, returnofthetrilogy.com to buy your tickets for this event. I believe, if I read the report right, that they're going on sale on May 4th. I believe they will be starting to show the films in August. I think maybe it's just some theaters are going to show the theaters in August. Go to returnofthetrilogy.com to go find out more and to buy your tickets. Again, it's only in selected cities right now. Hopefully they'll be releasing more cities soon, like Chicago. You bastards. And let's move on. And so the next few news items all revolve around CinemaCon. CinemaCon is like the Comic-Con for movie theater owners. It's just them, it's investors, it's the heads of course, the aforementioned movie theater chains. And a lot of fans don't get to go to it because, again, it's just for the movie theater owners. But, studios take films. Sometimes they'll show a whole film or bits of it. They'll show, like, first teasers for all these movie chains. So, and a lot of times, there's these big news items that come out from CinemaCon, which is nice. So the first news I want to talk about for CinemaCon is that James Cameron came out and announced that there will be 4, count them, 4 Avatar sequels. And he gave release dates for all of them. No, this isn't a few years ago, by the way. This is currently a real thing. James Cameron insists that he's going to make more Avatar sequels. So much so that he gave the release dates. Now, again, the reason I'm not saying this is a few years ago is because Avatar 2 was supposed to shoot in 2014 and was supposed to come out this year. Now, obviously, that didn't happen because we're not talking about it. Well, we're talking about it now, obviously, but the movie in general. So anyway, he said that Avatar 2 is set to come out on Christmas in 2018. By the way, all these films are coming out on Christmas. So Avatar 2 is coming out on Christmas on 2018. Avatar 3 will come out on Christmas 2020. Avatar 4 will come out on Christmas 2022, and Avatar 5 will come out on Christmas in 2023. So, is it going to happen? I don't know. Now, James Cameron's always been, a big technology guy. And, he didn't do Avatar for years because he insisted that the technology wasn't right for the film that he wanted, for his vision for the film that he wanted to release. So he waited until 2009 to do it. I think he said that he had the idea for Avatar back when he was doing Titanic, and technology wasn't right yet for it, so he waited. And I guess maybe he's gonna bring some new technology to the Avatar sequels. Maybe that's why he waited, because he's building a new camera to do some cool stuff. And if he isn't, that's fine. But here's the thing, and I liked the first Avatar. I enjoyed it when I watched it. But the first Avatar came out back in 2009, and since then there have been a lot of detractors, let's say, from when Avatar came out. Everyone's saying, oh, it's not that good of a movie. Oh, it's just a ripoff of, Dances with Wolves, or whatever other movie you want to put it. And it's hard to disagree with some of those comments, but at the same time, when it came out, everyone was all over. Everyone was waiting to see, how this is going to turn out. It's James Cameron. A name like James Cameron, despite all the things he may say that you disagree with, has done stuff for the film industry that is pretty big. He's given us great sequels. He's given us Terminator 2. He's given us the first Terminator. He's given us Aliens. And he gave us Avatar. He gave us Titanic. He's given us great films, and he's given us great opportunities for films that, when he says stuff that doesn't make any sense, or that you disagree with, you're like, yeah, okay, I disagree with you. But you look back in his career and you're like, you know what? Don't matter. But when he says stuff like, there's going to be 4 Avatar sequels, And they're all going to come out in a span of 2, 3 years, 4 years, starting in 2018. I don't know. Look, again, there's a lot of detractors to James Cameron. A lot of detractors, I'm sorry, to Avatar, since it came out in 2009. I'm a fan. Whenever it's on TV, every once in a while, I'll tune in. Especially in the third act. I don't know if there is a large fan base for Avatar anymore. I think if it came out this year, or maybe if it came out in 2014, there would still be a fan base. I just think now there's this huge gap between the first Avatar and Avatar 2, considering that some of the fan base there has either moved on, has again detracted from the fan base, or even if there are still fans out there like myself, even I gotta agree that the gap is too big. Now that hasn't stopped films in the past to release a sequel all these years later, but you look at those sequels and you look at the time passed, there is some it is obvious that it's gotten lost in the times. Now, again, Avatar doesn't take place in the present world; it takes place in the future. It takes place on an alien planet with alien characters. It's maybe we can easily jump back into the world. I know James Cameron has talked about re-releasing Avatar before they release the sequel. Maybe that will help. Maybe that will bring back some of the fans. Maybe that will get some new fans. People that didn't get to watch the original or the first one when it came out in theaters. I don't know if that will help. Maybe it will. Who knows? I just think there's a big gap now between the first Avatar and this one. And to say that there's going to be 4 sequels, I think is a bit much. You don't want to get too ahead of yourself. Look at every other studio that has announced they're going to make all these sequels and all these movies before the first one comes out or before the second one comes out, and it's failed for them. I'm looking at you, Sony, with your amazing Spider-Man universe that did not work. I'm looking at you, 20th Century Fox, with your Fantastic Four. All these sequels that get announced before the film comes out is damning for whatever you're releasing before its predecessor, because not only are you putting a lot of weight on your film, you are getting ahead of yourself so much that you do something and it's set in this you do something in this movie that sets up for other films, and if it doesn't do well in the box office, those questions are never going to get answered because fans didn't go watch your movie, or they're just not going, or you're just going to give underwhelming answers. I think there's a point when you have to, as a studio, you have to realize, okay, you want to do sequels, fine, keep that to yourself until the reviews come in, or until Sunday morning when you get the early box office results. Don't get ahead of you. Don't jump the gun and say, oh, just because this has brand recognition, like Spider-Man, like Fantastic Four, like Avatar, that fans are automatically going to be like, oh, you're making 4 more sequels? Sweet. I can't wait to see all 4 of them. No, because even if you're a fan, even if you get viewers, even if you get people to be like, yeah, I'm going to go watch all 4 because I like the first one and the second one was okay, I'm going to go see the finish of the story, that doesn't mean anything. There are some things that can work well for that, and some things that don't. Now, we live in an age today where everything is online. You're gonna see instantaneously the buzz around and the response of your announcement. One particular instance, which I'm not going to talk about on the show today because we have a packed show, I'll talk about it next week, is AMC, who already backed down from his claims that they were going to allow texting in movie theaters, or in some of their movie theaters. Again, I'll talk about that next week because, again, we have a full show today. But this morning, they've already backed down from that claim that they're not going to do it. You want to know why? Because the feedback was so instantaneously received. Now, again, texting in movie theaters and announcing sequels to movies that haven't even come out yet is 2 completely different things. I know that. I'm not insane. I'm not stupid. But to me, jumping the gun that you think people are going to agree with you and they're just going to say yes to whatever you put in front of them. Now look, I'm not saying that the Avatar sequels are going to be bad. I'm not. They could be the most amazing thing that we've ever seen, or they can be pretty decent sequels. They can be awesome. They can have great moments. But getting ahead of yourself, especially in today's climate where franchises or potential franchises end before, their first week, is a bad thing to put out there. I'm looking at few young adult potential franchise stars that didn't get off the ground. I'm looking at the Amazing Spider-Man. The first one was great. Second one came out and it was critically panned, and critics didn't like it. Fans didn't like it, not really. And now they got to reboot the whole thing. And they said the best thing that they said, you know what's going to help the Spider-Man franchise now? Putting him in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And look what happened. Early reviews are saying that Spider-Man is one of the highlights of Captain America: Civil War. And now people are looking forward to the new Spider-Man 10 times more because now he's part of the cinematic universe, and people are excited again for Spider-Man. Don't get ahead of yourselves, studios, directors. I like James Cameron. I do. He's a great director. But sometimes, he says stuff and he does stuff that's just, it's out there. Alright, more CinemaCon news. Benedict Cumberbatch will be the voice for the Universal Pictures and Illuminations Entertainment's updated version of Dr. Seuss's How the Grinch Stole Christmas. That's right, he's playing the Grinch. During the CinemaCon panel for this, they announced that Benedict Cumberbatch will voice the character, and the movie will come out on November 10th, 2017, so next year. We'll probably hear more about that. They released a picture, and it looks pretty much like the Grinch, should and does. They also announced that Despicable Me 3 will happen, and they've already announced one of the new voice actors in Trey Parker. Yes, that Trey Parker who created South Park. So the news for Despicable Me 3, or the film, will follow Gru, once again voiced by Steve Carell, who discovers that he has a long-lost brother named Drew, which will be voiced by Steve Carell, who's identical to him in every way except that he has blonde hair, and Drew is warm and charming, and a guy who everyone immediately loves. And the villain of the film would be Balthazar Bratz, voiced by Trey Parker, and is a former 1980s child star who was drawn into being a supervillain by the abrupt cancellation of his TV show once he hits puberty. And he's made it his goal to take revenge on anyone who's ever mocked him. Despicable 3 Me will also come out next year on June 30th. Alright, so we were talking about Sony earlier and Spider-Man. So let's talk about Sony again. Highlights from the Sony panel from CinemaCon. Studios, they show some stuff and they talk about stuff. So the first thing, the big thing from Sony's panel is that they officially announced that they are moving forward with the Men in Black and Jump Street crossover film, which will now be called MIB 23. This is gonna act as a sequel, the third film for the Jump Street movies. James Bobin, who directed the Muppets movie, will be directing the film, and Sony confirmed, pretty much said that Will Smith and Tommy Lee Jones are not returning. The MIB, the Men in Black side of this movie, will act as a reboot to the Men in Black franchise. So again, this was announced around the time that Sony Pictures had that email leak, and this is one of the movies that was kind of buried in all those emails, and then Sony was like, yeah, we're officially doing an MIB 23. I'm not crazy about the name. One, because it sounds, the casual moviegoer will sound like, so this is the 23rd Men in Black movie? And that's a question that people will say. It may be more evident in the posters and stuff like that, but I don't know. I think maybe Sony doesn't have a ton of confidence in Men in Black. They want to do it, they want to combine it with one of their successful franchises in the Jump Street movies. And again, even if for whatever reason it fails, Jump Street will be like the next Jump Street movie, So I'm sure there'll be another one. They will just say like, oh, didn't we get mind wiped by Men in Black? And someone will be like, no, we didn't. What are you talking about? So they'll probably do that. But I don't know. I'm not crazy about a Men in Black Jump Street crossover. I'm not. There's something about it. It doesn't. I don't know. It doesn't sit well with me. Up next, the studio also confirmed that they are moving forward with something that fans have wanted for a long time. And again, this is the year gap that I'm talking about. Zombieland 2. And they even showed a banner for it. It was a simple banner, Zombieland, and they had the 2 next to it. Of course, there's no details about it, but it's the fact that they're finally confirming they're going to do it is pretty cool. Again, it's been a long time. They tried doing in the Amazon TV show, which didn't work. I think it failed. It never got a full season pickup, I believe. I don't know. I mean, I would totally watch another Zombieland movie. I really would. But there's something about this long wait that it kind of freaks me out. It kind of worries me about Zombieland. I don't know. I don't know if they'll have the same charm. I don't know if they'll have the same, just feeling for it. But we'll see what happens. If they can get the cast back, I mean all the cast back, Woody Harrelson, Jesse Eisenberg, Emma Stone, and Abigail Breslin, then go for it. Do it. I'm totally on board. They also announced that they are moving forward with their animated SpiderMan movie called, wait for it, animated SpiderMan movie that'll be coming out on December in 2018. That's all the information they had. I don't know what they're going to do with it. We'll see what happens. Anyway, the big one though, one of the big ones, is that Sony answered a rumor that was going around the title of their new Spider-Man movie. And the title for the new Spider-Man movie will be Spider-Man Homecoming. And the movie will be directed by John Watts, who directed a movie called Cop Car, and it will star Tom Holland as the new Spider-Man / Peter Parker, who again will make his debut to the Marvel Cinematic Universe in Captain America: Civil War. They also said that Marvel will act as, quote, creative producers, unquote, but that Homecoming will be, at the end of the day, a Sony Pictures production. I'm not crazy about the Homecoming name or the Homecoming subtitle. There was a lot of people kind of hoping that the movie would be called Spectacular Spider-Man, which I would have been okay with. But the name Spider-Man Homecoming, I don't know, it sounds odd to me. It doesn't sound... It's not the first title I would jump at to name, Again, Homecoming kind of has double meaning. It's Homecoming Dance. Maybe it's, Sony's clever way of saying, Spider-Man's now home at the cinematic universe for Marvel. Who knows? I'm not crazy about the name, let's put it that way. But I'm going to go watch it anyway because, let's face it, we're going to go watch it. Doesn't matter what you say. I'm going to go watch it because I actually am interested in seeing what they do with it, but whatever. Alright, so that's the end of the CinemaCon news, but that is not the end of Spider-Man, because speaking of which, when it comes to Spider-Man, there was another rumor came out at the same time for the title on who will be playing the villain, or who the villain will be in Spider-Man Homecoming. Now, the original reports of this rumor came from Birth Death Movies, and they said that the Spider-Man movie would be called Spider-Man Homecoming, and that the villain of the movie would be Vulture. Now, everyone just took this as a rumor. No one really knew what was going on. And then, Sony announced that the title of the movie would be Spider-Man Homecoming at CinemaCon. So it led credence to this rumored story from Birth Death Movies that maybe the next rumor on that story they did could be true. Now, the villain that is rumored to be in Spider-Man Homecoming is Vulture. Now, for those of you who aren't in the know, Vulture is human. He's not a super monster villain. Vulture also has the name of Adrian Toomes, that's his real name, who was an older electronics engineer who built this flight harness that gave him superpowers. And if you watch the old, Spider-Man cartoon from the 90s, you know that, they used Vulture was a villain in it, and he was this old man, and he gets sucked the youth out of somebody. I don't know if they'll go that route with the films, Maybe they will. Who knows? Because they have casted, or they're in talks to cast, Michael Keaton. That's right. Michael Keaton is in early talks to play a villain in Spider-Man Homecoming, although the report from Variety says that the villain is being kept under wraps. So, Birth Death Movies got Spider-Man Homecoming right. Can they get the Vulture rumor right? Who knows? Now, this isn't the first time the Vulture's been bought up as a villain for the Spider-Man movies. Sam Raimi, when he was going to do Spider-Man 4, before the debacle and terrible movie known as Spider-Man 3 was released, Spider-Man 4 was going to have Vulture as a villain, and he casted John Malkovich. So we don't know. Maybe Vulture. Obviously, Vulture's been in the mix for Sony. Now, Vulture would be something new. It would be something different. It would be something cool. I wouldn't mind seeing Vulture. A part of this new Spider-Man, these new Spider-Man movies. And if they got Michael Keaton in it, that'd be awesome. I mean, obviously Michael Keaton, Tim Burton's Batman. So we don't know who Michael Keaton's gonna play. We know he's in talks to play the villain. Now he hasn't officially signed on, so let's wait for that. But I think we'll eventually know who the villain is, because Spider-Man Homecoming is set to come out on July 7th, 2017. That's next year. So they're going to start filming soon if they want to reach that date. And I'm pretty sure we'll find out who the villain is sooner rather than later, probably. If it is Vulture and Michael Keaton's playing him, I have no complaints whatsoever for that. Alright, so we got 2 more news items to get to, and then we're done with the news. Warner Brothers, this is a short one. Warner Brothers confirms that a standalone Batman movie is happening and that Ben Affleck will direct.
Yes! 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 Yes!
Surprise to no one, Warner Brothers announced that they will be doing a standalone Batman movie, and that Ben Affleck is developing the script with DC Comics CCO Jeff Johns, and that Ben Affleck will be directing the film, which it's awesome. This speaks for itself. I mean, everyone agreed that Ben Affleck was great in Batman and Bruce Wayne in Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice. So getting him to be the director of the film, it sounds awesome. We don't know when the movie's going to come out, but we do know that Warner Brothers has 2 untitled DC films coming out on October 5th, 2018 and November 1st, 2019. Now, Ben Affleck is currently filming Justice League Part 1. He also has Live by Night, which is his next movie that he's going to star in and direct, coming out next year in October. And he's going to film Justice League Part 2 whenever that works out. So, could he start filming Batman next year? Maybe, if they want to reach that October 5th, 2018 release. I think that'd be pretty awesome. Or even November. We don't know. But whatever the case is, Ben Affleck directing and writing Batman film sounds good to me. Alright, last news item for the podcast. Deadpool 2 will bring back the creative team from the first film. 20th Century Fox has officially announced that Deadpool 2 will happen, and they're going with the if it ain't broke, don't fix it mentality. Ryan Reynolds is coming back to play the Merc with a Mouth. Wade Wilson / Deadpool. Director Tim Miller will return, as well as the screenwriters, or as the film's opening credits puts it, the real heroes, Rent Reese and Paul Wernick will come back. It should be noted that those 2 were already working on the script before Deadpool even came out, but now that it's officially announced, they're doing the script again. So, really, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter what you think!
Of course, we know nothing about the sequel except for the fact that they will introduce Cable to the big screen. Cable being the son of Scott Summers and Jean Grey from the X-Men. Cable has also a very interesting history and timeline. It's complicated. Even I can't explain it to you because there's a lot going on. But Cable, nonetheless, is a very cool, interesting character. And I don't know how the hell they're going to bring him into the Deadpool universe, but we'll see what happens. Now, there's no release date just yet for Deadpool, but Fox also does have 3 release dates for untitled Fox/Marvel films. That is October 6th, 2017, January 12th, 2018, and July 13th, 2018. Now, can they put Deadpool in another spot? Yeah, probably. But those are the 3 release dates they have right now. A lot of people are assuming that the October 6th, 2017 release is going to Gambit. I highly doubt they'll put Deadpool in January. I think some people are saying that might be the X-Force movie they're doing. So maybe they'll give the prime summer movie slots of July 13th at Deadpool, or maybe they'll just be like, you know what, we're going to release it on our own time, and they're going to release it back in February, which it did pretty well for itself. The first one, when it came out in February, it's breaking records. So, all right. So that's all the news items for this week, as of recording of this podcast. Anyway, again, there's some news items that I had to cut out, so be sure to check out the Facebook page to see some of the news items that we cut out. And let's get to these week's releases, shall we? All right. So limited releases, we have Colonia, which is tells the story of a young woman's desperate search for her abducted boyfriend during the Chilean military coup of 1973, and it draws her to the infamous Colonia Dignidad, a sect nobody ever escaped from. Film stars Emma Watson, Daniel Earle, who will appear next in Captain America: Civil War, he's playing Baron Zemo, and Michael Neufquist from the original Girl with the Dragon Tattoo movies. And of course, you know who Emma Watson is. I mean, come on. The next limited release is Sing Street, that tells about a boy growing up in Dublin during the 1980s and escapes from his strained family life by starting a band and moving to London. It's a pretty young cast. There's not a ton of big names. There's big names in the supporting roles. We talked about Jack Rayner earlier. He's part of the supporting roles. We have Aidan Gillen, a.k.a. Littlefinger, a.k.a. Peter Baelish from Game of Thrones. And we have Maria Doyle Kennedy as well there as well. It looks fun. I saw Sing Street. I've seen the trailer once. I believe I forgot what I was watching, but I saw the trailer and I thought the movie looked awesome. I thought it looked really funny. Looks like it's gonna have a great soundtrack. So hopefully it opens around me so I can go watch it. The next limited release, I believe the final big one for this week, is Green Room. After witnessing a murder, a punk rock band is forced into a vicious fight for survival against a group of skinheads. Film boasts a highly impressive cast of Ali Skullcat, Image Poots, Eitan Yelchin, Joe Cole, Mark Webber, Colin Turner, Eric Eldenstein, Taylor Toones, and Patrick Stewart, who is the leader of the skinheads, and he looks pretty scary. I don't think I can look at Patrick Stewart when I go watch this, because I know I'm going to go watch this. I don't think I'll be able to see Patrick Stewart the same ever again, because he looks scary. Anyway, those are the limited releases. Let's get on to the wide releases. We have Barbershop: The Next Cut. As the surrounding community has taken a turn for the worse, the crew at Calvin's Barbershop come together to bring some much-needed change to their neighborhood. The film stars Ice Cube, Cedric the Entertainer, Regina Hall, Sam Patrick Thomas, Eve, Anthony Anderson, Jasmine Lewis, BJ Smoove, Common, Lamar Morris, Dion Cole, and Nicki Minaj. The next film is Criminal. The memories of a skilled and deceased CIA agent, played by Ryan Reynolds, are implanted into an unpredictable and dangerous convict, played by Kevin Costner. The rest of the cast includes Gary Oldman, Gal Gadot, Alice Eve, Scott Adkins, Michael Pitt, Jodie Marla, and Tommy Lee Jones. The last film is, we talked about earlier, The Jungle Book, directed by Jon Favreau, and it follows an orphan boy named Mowgli, played by newcomer Neil Sethi, I think that's how you say his name. Is raised in the jungle with the help of a pack of wolves, a bear, and a black panther, and adventure ensues. The voice cast includes Bill Murray, who plays Baloo, Ben Kingsley, Idris Elba, Lupita Nyong'o, Scarlett Johansson, Giancarlo Esposito, the late Gary Shandling, who passed away sadly, I believe a couple weeks ago, and Christopher Walken. So that's a pretty healthy dose of films coming out, so limited and wide. I'm going to try to do box office predictions again. Last week, I was completely wrong. I took a chance with Hardcore Henry, and I failed. By the way, if you want to see reviews for Hardcore Henry and The Boss, you can go to my WordPress account. Link will be down below in the description / show notes area. And my picks last week were The Boss, Hardcore Henry, Batman v Superman, Zootopia, and My Big Fat Greek Wedding 2 for the top 5 box office. Of course, the actual box office last week was The Boss, Batman v Superman, Zootopia, My Big Fat Greek Wedding 2, and Hardcore Henry. So, yeah, Hardcore Henry was in the top 5. I get points for that, right? No, probably don't. I mean, this is a useless game. It's just a game, pretty much, at this point. But, whatever. Because, you know what? It's my podcast. I can do what I want. I can do what I want. Anyway, so my box office picks for this week, I have The Jungle Book at number 1. I'm going to say Barbershop gets number 2 only because it is a new comedy. There is a fan base for the Barbershop movies. You want to talk about, sequel gaps. The last Barbershop came out in 2004. I think there was a spin-off of the film. Yes, there was, because this is where they introduced the female characters for the film. It was I wrote it down. Where is it? Beauty Shop. Beauty Shop came out in 2005. So again, this is a big year gap. It's almost 10 years pretty much since the last film came out. There's an audience there for these films, and I think that it's going to be a big enough audience for this week where they're going to go watch Barbershop the Next Cut. So again, Jungle Book number 1, Barbershop number 2. I think The Boss goes down to number 3. I think Batman v Superman still stays in the box office at number 4. At number 5, I'm going to say Criminal. It's got a great cast. It really does, but I think that it just looks like one of those action thrillers that is going to be it's going to be fun to watch, but at the same time, at the end of the day, it's going to be just another action thriller that you go watch. I'm going to go watch it. Again, it's got a great cast. You got Gary Oldman, you got Ryan Reynolds, you got Gal Gadot, Tommy Lee Jones, Scott Adkins, who I'm a big fan of. He doesn't get a lot of big roles here, Hollywood-wise, but he's a big kind of straight to DVD action movie kind of guy. And he does kind of play the villain, kind of everything he does, or a nameless CIA agent or whatever. And you got Ryan Reynolds and Kevin Costner. Yeah, so you got that. All right. So my picks once again: Jungle Book, Barbershop the Next Cut, The Boss, Batman v Superman, and Criminal are my picks for the box office this week. Thank you guys so much for listening to the podcast this week. I won't do a rundown because we talked about a lot on the show today, but I will run down the movies coming out again just in case. We have Criminal, we have Barbershop the Next Cut, and The Jungle Book, which are your wide releases. Limited releases, we have Colonia, Sting Street, and Green Room. So thank you guys so much for listening to the podcast this week. My voice is starting to go for some reason. I don't know why. But thank you guys so much. And be sure to like the Facebook page. There's a lot of stuff on the Facebook page that I didn't talk about on the show. I didn't talk about the Doctor Strange preview that came out. Doctor Strange came out. There's a lot of trailers that came out this week, actually. Because there was the Doctor Strange preview that came out, which was awesome. It was really good. If you want to go check that out, I highly recommend you do. There was a new trailer for The Secret Life of Pets, a new A Monster Calls trailer, a new trailer for The Angry Birds, a new Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle Out of the Shadows, a new Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them trailer, and a new Suicide Squad trailer. Which the Suicide Squad trailer I did enjoy, although I have to say I liked, even though with all the new footage in the movie, I still liked the last one they released better than the new one they released. I don't know what it was. But anyway, see, there's a bunch of trailers. I'll link them all down below in the comments / description area if you want to go watch them. I didn't get to talk about them here on the show because, again, there's just way too much to talk about. And it's kind of hard to talk about a trailer on a just audio podcast, at least for me. So the trailers are awesome, though. Doctor Strange and Suicide Squad are probably the best trailers. A Monster Calls looks phenomenal. I have no intention of trying to see Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, although I think I might end up watching it, sadly. Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, it looks pretty good so far. It looks like we're going to dive right back into the world of Harry Potter. The Angry Birds trailer, interesting moments in the trailer. The new Secret Life of Pets trailer, kind of really nothing new that we there was probably tidbits of new footage from the movie in there, but other than that, nothing that we haven't seen before. So yeah, thank you guys so much for listening to the podcast. I want to thank you guys. I got something big coming up for the podcast. We're gonna have actual guests on the podcast soon, especially with this thing I want to do. So be on the lookout for that, and yeah, be on the lookout for reviews on my WordPress account. I'll have a review of The Jungle Book up this weekend, and maybe Criminal if I get a chance to go watch it. But there'll definitely be a Jungle Book review for you guys to go watch. And be on the lookout for any news items that come out on the Facebook page. And thank you guys. again so much because you guys were awesome. Again, I know I don't get a ton of listeners to the podcast, but again, I don't do the podcast for the listeners. I do the podcast because I want to do it, and I know there's at least one of you maybe listening to this. So if I'm just talking to you, how you do? No, 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 no. If I'm just talking to you, then I hope you enjoyed the podcast. All right, I'm done. Thank you guys so much. Have a good weekend. Be safe, and go watch some movies.